Hello and welcome back to the Go-Karts and Good Times YouTube channel. Today we're going to be finally fabricating the exhaust for the VTR 250. Finally having acquired welding gas and a regulator, as well as the exhaust parts, I can start working. Having released the miscellaneous parts, pieces, and rust fix video, this is no longer interrupting that, but it is falling straight dab in the middle of the boat restoration process. Like I teased in the other video, I've been working on this boat while waiting for all the pieces I needed to finally start on the exhaust. While some might be dismayed to hear this, my first step is cutting apart this factory exhaust manifold. Don't worry, because I acquired an OEM replacement if I ever want to revert back to stock. Maybe slightly unorthodox, I covered all the things that I don't want to get splattered with metal shavings, including the bike, which is covered in multiple layers of sheets and towels because it's pretty close to the bench and I don't want any welding slag to get on it and damage it. Fortunately, I've never actually welded with gas before, so I have a number of practice pieces to get the technique down before I start welding the real exhaust pipe. With a fresh new bottle of gas comes a fresh new spool of solid welding wire. Some practice welds. To be honest, I really don't think these are that bad for my first time welding with gas. It is a little bit different, but it really is the same thing. Again, not terrible, but something still seems like it's not right. I still am not satisfied with my results. Continue chopping up these pieces and doing practice welds until I'm happy, then I can start with the real stuff. While this does look pretty ugly, there are some really good spots where I did find success with my various settings and technique changes. So I think I have enough experience now to at least try and start on the real stuff and see where it gets me. Front pipe cut and mounted up, I can see just exactly where I want to put the flange to connect to the rear section of the exhaust. Normally, I would extend this part so that the front pipe is a little bit longer and that the middle section doesn't have to be as long. But I don't want a random weld in the middle of the pipe that would look ugly, and it doesn't really matter anyway, as no section of the exhaust is going to be that long. As far as flange placement, I think I'm going to go with a 45-degree angle to the ground. I'm just about ready to get this first flange tacked up. I'm going to set up the time lapse and we'll see how it goes. From the experience that welding something like this with flux core would be extremely easy and fast, I already am not a fan of it. The inside welds literally look better than the ones on the outside, and I promised when I started this project I wouldn't be grinding down welds, but I have to. I really am very unhappy with the outcome of this flange welded onto the factory pipe. I'm going to chop and extend this pipe so I know exactly where my pipe needs to go underneath the bike so that the exhaust can join together. You may notice I'm not showing the preparation each time I go to weld. This is really just a waste of time because it's the same thing every time I go to do it. It's finally time to get this tacked up and see if I actually made the right measurements. Exactly why, but I really can't get a good weld from the outside onto this flange. I've decided to switch to interior welds instead. While I did go back over a couple spots just to be sure it would seal, these welds really do not look too bad, honestly. A heck of a lot better than my first try on the flange. If ugly, it looks better than stock, and it achieves my goal of functioning better by flowing and sounding better than stock. I'm going to get this bolted up so I know where to put my collector underneath. In this piece in the front pipe, there will be 2 points for me to get to with my middle pipe, and I can structure it off of that. With everything marked up, I can finally start welding up the middle section of the part, or at least the first part that connects to the front pipe. Again, with all the measurements taken, I can finally weld on the flange that will connect the rear cylinder elbow to the middle pipe. It's now time to chop this section of pipe up with the angle grinder for the joiner between the front and rear cylinder. matching halves made, I can now start to tack things up underneath the bike. Imperfect cuts and measurements, there were some gaps between the pipes, and I used big sloppy welds to fill in these gaps. Unfortunately, I have to go against my original wishes and grind down these welds to make it look better. In the end, it doesn't really matter because these welds will hold. While still tremendously ugly, at least I think it's leak-free. And this whole time I did plan on exhaust wrapping it anyway, so it's going to be hidden in the long run. With this piece cut and shaped, I can finally make the last tacks and weld it in place. And it's finally done, and I know my welds look like garbage, but as long as it doesn't leak, I'm okay with that. In the end, all I really wanted to do was to make a higher performance exhaust and make it so that the exhaust was much easier to remove with these flanges. And I think I achieved both of those, so I'm happy. If I'm being brutally honest, most of my welds are terrible, but it is done, and I did do what I set out to do. Honestly, with exhaust wrap or paint on it, this won't look half bad. With that, it's time to call it a night and come back tomorrow to paint and maybe exhaust wrap it. On my optimistic side would like to think there are no leaks. There's probably going to be some pinholes, and that can be fixed with exhaust putty. Even though I don't want to put it on, it'll be hidden underneath exhaust wrap and it'll do the job if need be. This may have been kind of rushed. Having only one day of experience welding with gas, I still think it came out okay. After doing a bit of thinking, I'm back to close this video out. It's been a couple days since the last clip, and in that time I've edited the video and started working on other projects as well as putting the carbs on the motorcycle. While I still need to get a choke cable that actually works, if I want to do the exhaust paint and wrap correctly, I need to be able to bake the exhaust, which means having the bike running. Being someone who doesn't care about video length, I'm not going to make an extra effort to postpone the video until these two things are done because they'll show up in later videos anyway. That being said, I hope to have a video about the motorcycle and this mess coming out soon. For now, thank you for watching and stay tuned for what's next to come on the channel. If you enjoyed, I'd appreciate if you liked, commented, or even subscribed. I hope everybody continues to stay safe and is enjoying their summer. And for now, see you next time.